The book Chinese Cinderella has something curious, and is how it can represent many types of imagery and how well hidden they are. Hello teacher and classmates, on this video we'll expose about the imagery of the chapters 12 to 17 of the book Chinese Cinderella, with their context on the respective chapters, how they interact with the main character and others, how they are involved on the story and the growth of the main character, Adeline, and how the story develops around them, with them or thanks to them. Chapter 12, Big Sister's Wedding. This chapter talks about how Adeline's big sister is going to marry a man of 31 years old at her 17th. During the chapter, it showed how her family is preparing their wedding, and while that happens, Jeje, the grandfather of Adeline, gives her sister a pendant and tells her that Niang must not know about it if she wants to keep it. The pendant becomes more important when Yang finds out about it on the wedding party and wants to talk with Adeline's big sister about it before the hour of the marriage starts. Adeline decides to tell her big sister about the problem, and with that she can have a normal wedding and also can avoid problems related to the dim. Due to her help, her big sister managed to create a plan and thanks her for helping her on that situation and says that Adeline was the best sister she could ever have. She managed to make her plan succeed. The plan was act like she wanted to tell Nyang about it and then give it to her. And Nyang decides to let her keep the pendant with one condition, being loyal to Nyang. In the end of the chapter, it's told that she went out with her pendant on the marriage. The imagery of this chapter is the pendant. This can be concluded due to two reasons. One, the emphasis on the pendant and then its problem. And two, the value that is given to it. The value that the pendant has while the story unfolds is the remnants and the last tokens of affection of her life with her family before she gets married. The pendant was a gift coming from Yeye, who treats his grandsons and granddaughters like a normal human being, as a wedding gift, like a last memory for her about them. Then is the problem that happens around the pendant and Yang when she finds out about it. She gets mad and tries to confront Adeline's big sister, so Adeline decides to save, if you put it in a way, her from a major problem on the day of her wedding by telling her what happened and that she needs to think fast. Thanks to that, her big sister managed to get a plan and keeps the pendant and says to Adeline that she is the best sister she could ever have, leaving a last interaction between them that shows that thanks to the pendant and the problem around it, their relation ended up well. Chapter 13, The Birthday Party. This chapter talks about how one of the classmates and friends of Adeline is having a birthday soon. So she invites Adeline to her birthday along with other friends. The problem is that Adeline cannot go due to one of the rules of Nyang, so instead she gave excuses every time. After some times, classes got cancelled due to a special date, and then Adeline went to the birthday, even if she did not want to, and this is because she ran out of excuses. On the party, she forgets how sad could be her life and started to have fun. This lasted until she remembered about Nian and her rule, about going to the houses of others. Adeline told her friend that she needs to go, but she will come back before they cut the birthday cake. But she made the mistake to give her friend the phone number of the house telephone. When she arrives to her house, Niang confronts her for being too early on the house instead of being on school. While being yelled, her friend called and a maid gives the phone to Niang, who now knows what was happening, decides to ground Adeline and send her to her bedroom to wait for her father to punish her. On her bedroom, she can hear how her friends are having fun and wishes to switch lives with her, so she can have hers and her friend's Adeline's life. At the end of the chapter, her father arrives and punishes her with physical punishment. The imagery that this chapter gives us is the birthday party. Not only because it's the main focus of the chapter, but also because it shows Adeline the feeling of being a normal child. In the chapter, when Alice remembers that she shouldn't be there, she says that for once she felt like a normal child and that she remembered who she was and where she was. Almost talking in a way that she says that she does not have the rights to be there. That is true to Nyang's rules. Another proof of this is how Adeline talks about how the girls are having fun when she's in her bedroom. The way she expressed shows some jealousy in her, showing how she wanted to be there and have fun like a girl of her age. Chapter 14, The Class President, and Chapter 15, Boarding School in Tianjin. These two chapters share an imagery, so it will be talked more about the 14 than the 15. This is because it represents it more. The chapter 14 talks about how Adeline's school is on a period of time where the classroom can vote for a class president. The course can choose their own candidates for the presidency run, and nominated ones are Wu Chengmei and Adeline versus Chen Lei Lei, where Adeline and Wu Chengmei are a team. Both Adeline and Wu Chengmei forgot about the team, while Chen Lei Lei was doing propaganda, so the classrooms voted for her. On the day where both Adeline and Chen Lei Lei needed to do a political speech, Adeline gave her speech and needed to leave due to how late it was for her. But in her speech, she includes her love for the school and how for her she did not deserve to be the class president and instead should be Wu Chengmei. In the end, Adeline won and her classmates followed her to her house without knowing how was the familiar ambience inside of it. When Adeline noticed them, before entering her house, she tries to make them understand that they need to leave fast, but a maid tells Adeline that Niang wants to see her on the Holy of Holies. When she goes to the Holy of Holies, she is getting yelled by Niang while her father does not do anything about it. She even got smacked, something that is not new right now, but then she started to bleed for it and Niang orders Adeline to tell them to leave. When Adeline comes out to tell her classmates to leave, they are in shock for the situation. She receives gifts coming from them due to her win, and finally Wu Chengmei gives her gift to Adeline and shoots to the room of Niang how unfair was all. Niang forced Adeline to open the gifts and then throw them to a trash can. After that, she told her that she is going to a trip with Niang and her family and her father. The trip is related to chapter 15, where they go to Tianjin, and Adeline is sent to a school in orphanage where Niang grew up. On this new school, Adeline was quite mocked by some of the nuns that acted like teachers. Despite that, she was always being positive, something that made the nuns stop mocking her. For some tension on the area, a civil war started, and the nun tried to return Adeline to her family. Maybe it's hard to find the imageries on one of these two chapters to be specific, the chapter 15. The imageries are being the class president and the nun of chapter 15. They both represent something important from Adeline and that Yeji always says about her, that she is more than what Niang says about her. On the chapter 14, Adeline feels praise when she thinks about how she was nominated as class president, thinking that she is more than what Niang says. And on the chapter 15, the nun was the proof for that. Not only because it changed her behavior, but also because how she started to see her and treat her. She started to saw her as someone positive besides the situation and started to act more friendly with her. And this behavior also shows at complete that she has this effect on showing that she is more than Yang says, and that is also extends to everyone and not only friends. Chapter 16, Hong Kong. On this chapter, the nun and Adeline arrive where she, Adeline, used to live. They visit a library, and then when the nun returned all the children to their houses, it was the turn for Adeline to come back to her house. When they arrived to Adeline's house, her older brother and others were on the door greeting them. In this chapter, Adeline could have made a meeting with her grandfather, Yeye, and talk about everything. Later, Yang and the rest leave the house, leaving Adeline and Yeye alone. On this moment, Yeye tried to talk with her about the Chinese. This only led to an aggressive response coming from Adeline saying that the Chinese is not useful, so she does not need it, and that she must learn English or French, and that she does not care if she forgets about her native language. Yeye, surprised by this answer, tried to talk to her about the origin of the Chinese. At the beginning, she did not want to pay attention, or she acted mad about it. But while Jay explained it, she became more and more interested. What Jay explained to her was the origin of the Chinese characters, showing her that, first, the Chinese is a language that is more spoken than written, and second, that the Chinese characters were made based on their meaning. Like, if they are based on money or related to it, the form of the character will be one related to the trade or the cash, the Chinese coin. The Chinese characters are the imagery of this chapter. Only resume was show how important are for Jeye and how important it is for him that Adeline knows them, and the Chinese language. The Chinese language represents how Adeline must keep admiring who she is and her own culture. This can be proved on how Yaya talks about the Chinese dialect, because he talks about it with enthusiasm, and like to show Adeline how important it is for someone like her the way he talks or he feels about it. It shows every emotion about it and the way Yaya wants to make Adeline understand that her culture is more important alongside her future or ways to earn money. Chapter 17, Boarding School on Hong Kong. This chapter starts with Adeline being called by one of the maids that told her that Niang wanted to see her and to come with her. On the trip, also joined Four Brother, who was playing with the ring that Niang was wearing, something that Adeline was jealous of due to how free he was compared to her. Both were kind of mad because in the morning they had a little fight, but were stopped by one of the nuns. When they arrived at the place, it was Hong Kong. During those times, it was like a British colony. After a little stop for some tea, they went to an orphanage. The part that Adeline did not know about was that this orphanage was also a school. While being there, Adeline thought that maybe Niang wanted to get rid of her by any way possible. After all, even her own father remembered her as well. Not even her name or birthday. When Niang finished her register Adeline at the school, Adeline was fully awake to notice what they were saying. Until she heard that despite being in the middle of school year, they would accept her in that orphanage in school. For her, and in her words, there was a God after all. The major of this last chapter is located on the last moments of it, and it is the school that appears at the end of the chapter. For how Adeline felt about it in a way like it was something she was wanting for the moment she came back, shows how much she loves being in school or learn. This imagery represents a new start for her life, taking into account that she prefers a school besides her own house. Maybe it feels for her like a removal and a new beginning due to how much time she was without a school. This can be known when Niang tells her that despite being half of the scholar year, and the phrase that Adeline said, "there is a God after all," can drive to a conclusion where it shows how Adeline was waiting to go to school, but taking in account that this new school does not have some of her old friends, it's like a new start for her, and to prove everyone that she is more besides what Niang says. Thank you for listening and for your attention.